what's up everybody? Welcome back into the channel. It is Jim Cooley, the voice of champions here at the VOC flight deck. As promised, I'm going to show you guys the build of this V900 from E-Flite, which is our pylon plane. Closest thing to a pylon plane that E-Flite is really putting out right now. Super fast plane, guys, 120 miles an hour. It'll go over 100 miles an hour on a 3-cell battery too. So there's not much to this build. However, guys, the reason that I was delayed on the build of this particular plane is that there is an issue, and you'll see in the description I'm going to talk about this. There's a small issue when you bind this in safe mode, which a lot of people are going to do. Now, there are two different bind procedures for safe mode and non-safe mode. That being when you put the bind plug in and the receiver begins to blink, if you then bind it, you'll have no safe mode. If you put the bind plug in, power up the receiver and it starts to blink, and you take the bind plug out prior to binding it, you'll have safe mode. And then I'll also show you guys how to assign a toggle switch to that safe mode. But I want to talk a little bit about this throttle issue before we build this. What happens is when you bind this in safe mode, you get no throttle. If everything is set up on your Spectrum DX and you have it all, you've gone into the manual, you've gone into the manual and you've looked at your setups for your dual rates and you've looked at everything you need to reverse or whatever needs to happen, which isn't a lot with this, and then you bind it in safe mode, you're going to get no throttle. So I'll show you guys that. Now, I have bound this to this controller, but I'm going to do it again just to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. I have a bind plug here, I have a battery here. There's not much charge on this battery, but I charge it up a little bit for the sake of this video. One thing I'm going to tell you guys real quick, putting the bind plug into this thing in this tiny little slot is not easy when you have big hands, which I do. So it's a real tight fit, guys. I've already dropped it. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to use these to try to get this thing started here. So I'll put my finger behind this, pull these off, and then I'm going to push that bind plug in. So just use these to put it in there, guys, and then guide it in with my finger. So the bind plug has been inserted. And the batteries, if you guys watch my channel, you know that I use these auphonic air batteries. They have the XT60 adapter on them, and obviously these E-Flite planes come with EC3. So I have grabbed one of my adapters that you can order off of Amazon. They're real easy. There's no wires in between them. And it's just going to go right onto my battery. And then we are going to put this directly into... Now you're going to see it's blinking, guys. Get a good look at this blink. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to pull out my bind plug because I want to bind this in safe mode. So now you'll see... Oops. So now you'll point away from your receiver, hold down your bind button, turn on your transmitter. All right, we got a good bind. Keep in mind, guys, I don't have anything really hooked up. You can hear it though, and you can hear it when I move it. It's in safe mode. It's trying to balance things out even though I don't have anything hooked up. Now the reason that we did this is because I want to show you this throttle issue. You hear that? Now I'm giving it full throttle, guys, and it's giving me nothing. There's no spin. So what happens is when you bind this in safe mode, you then have to go in and trim your throttle all the way down to 0 until you hear those 4 beeps. Beep, 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 beep. Now watch. Now we've got throttle. Okay, so that's only in safe mode, guys. If you bind this without safe mode, your throttle is going to work at the standard setup. However, if you bind this in safe mode, you're then going to need to trim it all the way down to 0 in order to get yourself any kind of throttle out of this plane. Okay? So that was the issue I was having. I didn't realize you needed to do that. It doesn't really explain it that well in the book. Now, while we're doing this, I'm going to show you guys real quickly, and this procedure is in the book. I'm going to show you how to assign safe to a toggle switch on your Spectrum transmitter. I want to bind my safe to A. That's where I always bind it. It's a 2 toggle switch. This does not have beginner, intermediate, advanced. It's just going to be safe on, safe off. So what you're going to do is you're going to take both your gimbals, you're going to hold them in like this, and then flick this button 5 times so you hear it take effect. Alright guys, so we went ahead and we held it down in this direction and we flipped our toggle switch 5 times, the one that we chose for safe, and now we have safe mode. So if you hear it, it's wanting to use safe right now, but if I click this switch, no noise out of it. So now I have safe mode attached to toggle A, and if I'm in 0 position, it will give me safe, and if I'm not, it will not. So that is how you bind this plane in safe mode and attach it to a toggle. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, guys, and notice I did all that without a propeller on. You don't want to put this prop on and then try to figure out your throttle issues. Not a good plan. So, not a lot to putting this plane together, guys. We're going to get right into this build. 3 screws and you're on your way out and you're done. And then you just do the prop. So you can see here on the propeller, your aileron Y cable is inside this little Ziploc bag. Pull those out, set that to the side. And in your little bag of goodies, you're going to have your 3 screws that are necessary. My bit is in here as well that I used last time. This is going to be your Velcro for your battery. You have the 2 big screws. These are your wing screws. You have this one smaller, thinner screw that is going to be to attach your horizontal stabilizer to the plane. And that's what we're going to do first, guys. So we're going to grab this little screw here, and I think this is going to be enough screwdriver right there. Now, real quick, guys, as you're looking at this, and it says it in the manual, but just in case, there's 2 ways to put this in, left and right. You can only put this in from the left. So if you are facing from the back of the fuselage as though you're the pilot, you'll take your horizontal stabilizer, you'll slide it in from the left, and there is a natural block that is built into this plane, this fuselage, that is going to stop this horizontal stabilizer right where it needs to be for this screw to go in. So you can't go in from the left, from the right, guys. You need to go in from the left, and that is how you're going to get that in there. And you have this one slot here where your small thin screw is going to go in. Make sure you do get a good connection there on your horizontal stabilizer. Make sure it's nice and centered. Take your screwdriver. Let's see if we can grab this on the first try. It goes in a long way, guys. I'm just letting you know now. It'll turn forever. You think that you're not getting in the hole, but it's really just a long way before you get any tension. And now I've gotten some tension. Don't want to over tighten that. And that is how we get our horizontal stabilizer in. That's one of 3 screws. Okay, guys? I'm going to turn this over, put this off the edge here so that I'm not messing up my vertical stabilizer. And then we are going to attach our wing section. Now, there's 2 holes here, guys. You do not want to go through this center hole with your ailerons. You want to go through this back larger hole that is going to bring you up right into where your receiver is. It's a Y plug, so only one needs to go through. What I do is I like to feed it through first, so that I know I have it in. You can take that aileron sticker off too as well if you want to keep that out of your way. So I'm just going to feed this baby down in there as far as I can. And that should be actually pretty good. That's going to hold right there. And then, guys, I will place my wings on. Nice and tight here. Make sure they are centered. You're going to take your 2 long screws, look for your slot down in there. We are good there, I can see it. Go ahead and put one in about halfway, guys. You don't want to fully tighten it yet. Drop your other one in. Should be right on point. I'm already getting tension, so I know I'm in the hole. And I'll fully tighten this one down at this point. Go back and finish my rear screw. Looks like we're not quite down there. Push this baby back in. And we're kind of missing it, I think. Oh, maybe we're not. Nope, we got tension. So, tighten this up. know. I don't know if my wires are pulling me up there. I'm going to pull these ailerons through, see if they're jammed in there in any way. I think that. Yeah, I think we somehow got this pinched in, guys. So I'm going to loosen these back up just a tad, just to make sure I get some free play there with my aileron wires. I don't want to have them hammered down there. Alright, so now I know that it's not pinning those wires down in between the wings and the fuselage, which is what I don't want. Now I'm going to tighten that back up, and as far as most of the build goes, you're done. Couple little things, but where you're going to put the propeller on next, I'm going to show you guys the order that that goes in. So now that we have our plane together, next step is going to be plugging in our ailerons. Remember, guys, your ailerons are going to plug into your number 2 channel. I'm going to use the same trick that I did earlier with the bind plug because my hands are gigantic. So let me tuck this baby out of the way there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of pinch this a little. I'm not going to want to hurt it or put any real pressure on it. So we are going to plug this in to number 2, where we are going to attempt to. I don't know why they glued this in. I haven't seen that on any of these other models, but that did come, if you guys can see in there. This plane came with your elevator, rudder, and throttle glued in. I didn't do that, so I don't know. Gotta figure it out. So there we go, guys. That is it for the fuselage. You got your horizontal stabilizer, you got your wings. Now you can pop this back on for good looks until we get to the point where we want to test everything.